Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and it's Friday lunchtime here in southern British Columbia. And so, therefore, it is our skills broadcast. And I'm busy cooking something because I'm going to show it to you. So please remind me to show it to you. The the broadcast today is going to be about helping your friends. And I think it's a really important reality that we're going to need to help a lot of our friends. Hi there, Jamie. And so what I wanted to do was just to talk through it a little bit with you so that we could talk amongst ourselves about when your friends helped you, what helped the most. And, we're going to be discussing that, but it's going to be a really frightening time. Before I start the broadcast, though, a couple of things, hi, Jody, a couple of things that I want to just make sure we revisit. First of all, under our slogan of be prepared, not scared, I understand that in the States, they're now opening up churches. Now, I know a lot of my viewers are God-fearing people. However, I do want to say to you, just because you can go to church does not necessarily mean that it's going to be safe. I think that quote that my friend Marnie put up recently that says, opening things up doesn't mean that the virus has gone away. It means there's now room for you in ICU. And so I would like to suggest, if you give it a bit of thought, that life is actually probably going to be more dangerous now than it was when we were locked down, obviously, because there are more people out and about spreading it. So please be doubly careful. I'm not saying don't go to church. That's your choice. What I'm saying is if you do go, please be, if somebody next to you doesn't want to socially distance, get up and move away. Stand at the back of the church if you have to. Do whatever you have to do to protect you is the point. So be prepared for people not to follow the proper guidelines. And don't be scared of it. Just be prepared for it because they're not going to. Right, what was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about? Never mind. I did say that we were going to learn how to make your own dishwashing tabs, and I'm going to do that this evening. These are the ones that I make for myself, and it's all about experimenting, right? Everything I do is about the grand experiment. It's not about perfection. So I've made tabs. By what I noticed was the tabs I used to make in my old house don't work as well here. So I've had to adjust and play with it a bit to find out what do I need more of with hard water because I'm on well water here. So hi, Nasha, good to see you. So do you understand? So I'm going to tell you basically what to do, but you're going to need to tweak it to fit your water condition. All right, now the other thing I wanted to show you, because now we've got, this is Tommy, the tomato, and he's really still doing very well. He's getting a lot more leaves on him. Let me put it against the black because then you'll see him better. So I'm very proud of him at the moment. And I thought Benny the Bean, amazing. This is how much, right? This is how much he's grown in 1 week. And we've already got the next, if you look at it, we've already got the next up leaf going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this tab to here to show you how much he grows between now and the next week. And, he's not sitting in a lot of soil, but he's not root bound either. So he seems to be quite happy. So Benny the Bean, right? Two things I talked about, but I thought I would show you is I'm doing instead of having plants in my house now, I'm going to start having vegetables in my house. So here are some lettuce seeds that I planted, and what I want to do is have just a mass of lettuce growing. Now, what I want you to see is lettuce will always head for the sun. So if you're next to a window, make sure you keep rotating. By the way, these get rotated every day, and that is how much they move towards the sun in one day. Isn't that amazing? If you look at it, it's just like um, so I thought that's a good idea. The other thing I thought I would try, just because I love to do the experiments, is what if you grew lettuce in a wine glass? And so I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to let that stay as a terrarium for a while, and just see what happens to it. I might kill the whole thing off, but what I would like to do is to have it as a massive green and then open it up. And I had to literally wipe away the condensation on the side of the glass so you'd be able to see the seedlings in there. But that's just in a couple of days. They obviously like growing in there. Okay. My tip for the day. Have you ever had honey that crystallizes on you? What I found is if you turn it upside down, I don't know if this makes sense to anybody, but I had this crystallized honey at the bottom here, and it's such good honey. And so all I did was I turned it upside down, and look at that. The crystallized wax stayed at the top, and the honey came down to the bottom. How many of you going, stop? Jodie's saying that. I know her well. But I thought I'd share that because it's very simple. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of you don't like it when it crystallizes like that. So I thought I'd just show you what I found out this week. All right, so now then, let us move on. I wanted to let you know that we did 2 experiments yesterday, one with Google Team, which worked really, really well again. But what we found out is that it's going to be free until September. So we're going to keep using it until September. But what we heard was from September onwards, it was going to cost everybody that wants to use it $6 a month. So I don't know about you, but I didn't like that. And I'm pretty sure that I've got viewers that are not going to be able to afford that either. And so what I talked to, and I want to thank Jody, Lauren, Bernice, and Jamie for working the tests with us yesterday. But one of the things that Jamie was looking into for us was the new Facebook one that's just come out. And I tried that yesterday, and for some reason, it started well, and then for some reason, my audio didn't want to work, and I'm not sure what that was about, because everything that I checked was good, but we'll keep playing with it until it does work, and we'll see if that is going to end up costing money or not, and we'll see how, whether the platform is strong enough to take, I'd like to be able to get at least 6 or 8 of us on if possible. So, which is a problem that we had with the Messenger platform, was that it just didn't have enough bandwidth for more than one person to be up on camera at a time. So that's our update on that. The whole point about today's... Okay, what's this? Hang on a second, I just want to see... Jody's just sent me a special note, and I want to see what it is, because it might be... Oh, it's an update from Erin, okay, with an okay to share. All right, as soon as possible to schedule, she's going to have a liver ultrasound done to assess the damage. Apparently, it's got worse. More blood panels have been ordered. No medication changes until the results are in. She needs to find a new doctor. Yay. Jodie's saying that Erin isn't anxious about the test itself, but is a bit nervous about the results, of course. So thank you very much indeed, Erin, for the update. And thank you, Jodie, for sending that on to us. If anybody else has got a health update or a news update of any sort, let me know. I've got some birthdays. Okay, this thing that I'm kicking, I've got to show you. I promised myself one of these. Anybody know what it is? And this is about, I am now at an age where I wanted one of these. This is one of those things that, regardless of the height, you can change a light bulb. And I'm just going to show you how long it goes. Okay, that's a pretty good height. I don't know if you can see that. How can I show you how long that is? Yeah, look at that. So it's about 12 feet. Now, how do I know it's 12 feet? I know you guys like my funny ways of measuring things. But I think you know that between your nose and your end of your fingertips is about 3 feet. Okay? So what I did was I tried to see, okay, so that's 12. Anyway, so what am I talking about? This is 3, this is 6, and it looked like it was 2 of those, so that's why I said 12. All right. We'll get this worked out in a minute. I just want to get the, just bear with me 1 second, please. For some reason, I didn't put up the framework for today. I'll be there. The reason that I picked this subject for today, Jodie didn't know that. Okay, right. You remember I said to you, this is 4 inches and this is 8 inches. From here to here is 8 normally. This is 1 inch. I tell you, I'm full of these things. 1 second, recent. I find them very useful. It's like quite often I'll sort of roughly measure it, and if I want a definite measurement, I'll go and get my my measure thing. So for those of you watching for the first time, welcome, and we do welcome people to come and just listen up if they want to. If you want to join in, please be aware that if after the broadcast, this broadcast will go up and stay up on YouTube. I'll take off the written comments, but I still will be talking about the comments. Hi, Sandy. And so from that point of view, I just want to warn those of you who might be new that if you say something that I think might be personal, I will probably check with you whether it's okay for me to mention it out of my mouth. It's okay if you just want to let the people who are in the room know, but I will say to you, is it okay if I repeat that? The same thing as Jodie knew that when Erin gave the update, she needed to get clearance from Erin that it was okay for me to talk about it. Okay, so I just noticed that Nyasha's asked me a question. How does this work? It's got a little, it's got all sorts of different tops to it, Nyasha. And what you do, I mean, I'm not going to unpack it right now, but then what you do is it has a little rubber gasket thing, and you just put it up next to the bulb and you click it in, and then you unscrew the bulb, bring it down, put the new bulb in, and screw the new bulb in. And I've got all sorts of different light fixtures in my house, and now I don't have to climb a ladder. Some of them are quite high. So now I don't have to climb a ladder to change a light bulb. I can just use this. How many of you going, that is a good idea for somebody of my age? And I walked away from the camera just because I want saying about for my age. Somebody gave me this, I think it was my sister, a long time ago. And I laughed at her. And she said, oh, you'll find this useful. I want to tell you, I've got high cupboards here. And it's so useful to be able to go up and get hold of something and pull it close enough so that I can reach it. I've got deep cupboards here, same thing. You know, you can get in here, you can pull things forward. So that to me wasn't a whole lot of money, but boy, is it useful. So if you know anybody and you're wondering what gifts to get them, I would say either of those. I don't care what age you are, they are useful. Right, so now then. What is Dear Mama Sal about? We're a group of, like an extended family. And the idea is that we're helping each other cope with love, life, and other problems. Because we're all people who want to do things better. We want to learn how to cope better. We want to know how to help our friends better. And that is what we do. So if you've got a topic that you would like me to speak to, please let me know. Write to me at dearmamasal@gmail.com. And we will add it to the list. I have a sort of ongoing list of possibilities, but I must admit that I am a great believer that every week I ask the all-powerful, you know, what should I talk about this week? And I'm not joking, I literally do that. And I'm amazed that what I had planned for today, I heard you need to talk about helping people with their friends, because people are going to be losing their jobs. People are going to realize that even though people are going back to the work, that they suddenly might not be. And it's going to be a very uncertain time for a lot of people. So I thought, being prepared, not scared, that we would talk to it and talk about how we can help one another. For those of you who are new, please make sure you subscribe to us here on the button here, and also click on the bell. The bell's going to ask you, do you want all notifications? And the answer is yes, because that'll make sure that you get warned if I'm about to do a broadcast. Also, make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter, just Dear Mama Sal, because that is where we, if you're lucky, that's where I give you a 35-minute warning. Today was a 30-minute warning, and quite honestly, that was not enough. I was running late today. Do any of you know that feeling? I don't know why I was running late. I got up at the same time, but I was running late this morning. So part of what I want to talk about today is that, hi, Erin, I updated everybody, and all the best for your tests, honey. I'm sure, I noticed that comment about that you're just a little concerned about the results, aren't we all? And by the way, if, I'd like to just give a heads up here for those of you who don't know. Wait a minute, let me just double check. Jody, is it okay for me to repeat the results you're going to be waiting for at the beginning of June? Because, I think we all, yep. Just so you know, Erin, Jody will, on the 9th of June, I believe, be celebrating 5 years free of cancer. And, that is a test that I guess, will you be going for that test, Jody, or will you forego it because of not wanting to go near a hospital? Let me know. I'm busy at the moment as well, deciding whether I want to go for my A1C test, which monitors the blood sugar in my body. I know roughly where it is. I don't think I want to take that risk, but I've got to talk to my doctor. And, what do I do if my doctor says you have to go take it? I still think I have the right to say, no, I don't have to. And I choose not to at this time. But there again, when is the right time? All right. That's the other thing. So I'm going to talk, that's what I'm going to be talking through. Is it safer to do it now, or safer to do it in July, or safer to do it in October? When's going to be safer? I don't know. What I want to talk to you about is that some people are going to be losing their jobs because of this whole pandemic. But sometimes these major shifts in our lives are blessings in disguise. All right? Blessings in disguise. And that's what I want to talk about along with this. All right, let me just update here. Jody's saying her doctor said probably forego any tests right now. Yep, that's what I wondered. But the fact that you have no symptoms is a great sign. Yay. And Sandy. All right, so Sandy, okay to repeat that? Oh, I got an itch. Ah. I hate it when I got an itchy nose. Does it mean anything? So why a blessing in disguise? Hi, Jonas. Because what I want you to see is sometimes these major changes happening is actually turns out to be a benefit. And that's what we're going to talk about, both sides of this. So a blessing in disguise is when we think something is bad for us, but it turns out to be good for us. Now, I don't know if any of you have got any examples of that where something happened and you thought it was really bad. And then it turned out, wow, later you could look at it and go, gosh, I'm glad that happened, because if it hadn't, I wouldn't have met so-and-so, or if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have learned this lesson. And I think when we can see that life just is a series of lessons that we need to learn, and that the lessons will be brought to us, it makes life a whole lot more interesting, to my mind. It means you'll kiss a fool if you got an itchy nose, really? Okay. Wherever that fool is, you just got kissed. And just while I think about it, I just wanted to update. I know that I'm not aware of any birthdays this week. I know Anna Marie has a birthday on the 9th. And I know it's Jody and Lionel's anniversary on the 26th, which is just a couple of days away now, right? But I'm not aware of any birthdays this week. So if anybody knows of any, let me know so I can update our system. All right. So have any of you ever lost a job? Jonas's birthday was a week ago. I did not have that in the system, and I know you told us. I did not add that. I'm going to add it. All right, Jody, can you make sure that I do add it, please? Hi, Pat. Pat, please, I want to tell you, for those of you who don't know, Pat's husband, Bill, and I have great fun. Have great fun every year discussing our tulips. I live on the west coast of Canada, and Pat and Bill live on the east coast of Canada, and I am busy sending them pictures of things like crocuses and then, tulips coming up, but stuff like that. And then I wait for a couple of months until Bill sends me his. But Pat, I want you, if you will, to give him a hug for me and just let him know, please don't stop doing it, because it makes me smile every time. It is just like a very cute little bond that we have. And started, I don't know, every time he sends me a picture of a tulip, I still see that sunflower that you sent me originally. And I just want you guys to know that it is very, very special, that little bond that we have on that. It's like the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, that's cute. Pat's saying it brings him great joy as well. Yeah, because he knows I'm going to love it, right? So I look at it and go, we take pleasure in small things, Pat, right? And I think that's what gives us our sense of humor, right? That we can see and get such joy out of small things. And I think that's really important. And I got quite excited yesterday when we were doing the test because I found out that I could be on camera on my laptop, but then I could also be on camera with my phone under a different sign-in, and then I could go and walk in the garden and show people things, which, was very exciting for me. So here we go. Let's say that a friend of yours loses their job or does not get re-employed because of the pandemic. What I want us to do is have any of you ever lost a job? That you got retrenched or fired or whatever. Because what I want you to see is that quite often it is a gift. Quite often I have heard people say, gosh, in a way, I'm glad I got fired because I didn't like the job anyway. And now it forces me to go do something else. Yeah, Jonas is saying sometimes the bad things happen to us directly on the path to the best things that will ever happen to us. Yeah, exactly, Jonas. And that's the whole point that I'm saying. And what I'm going to do at the end of this discussion is just give you, some very famous people who got fired, or got told they were useless or whatever. And, just to make sure that we keep that in check. I think if somebody tells you that their job just disappeared, one of the most important things, I believe, is to remind them about their transferable skills. Now, what are transferable skills? They are the skills that they have got that will help them do anything. For example, if I look at somebody like Dougie, for those of you who know my son Dougie, I've always said to him, you are so talented in so many different areas. It doesn't worry me if because you will always adapt. He's got two things going for him: really good people skills, really hard worker. You know what I mean? He has all his life made up for what he hasn't got by a work ethic second to none. And I would say that that is one thing when I look at my different sons that I have in my life, and even daughters, the one thing that stands them all apart is their work ethic. And that is a very interesting thing. They do as much as possible within a job, not as little as possible. Makes sense? All right, what is Jonas saying here? All right, so this isn't his first job. It didn't work out, so he quit. And then I got my second job. I met a lot of my best friends and fell in love, whereas I wouldn't have got any of that if I didn't recognize what wasn't working out. Yes, because it was uncomfortable there, and they didn't treat me well. They talked down to me constantly. Yes, it's a toxic environment is never good, but you needed to make that change, and that's what I'm saying, Jonas. That if any of your friends end up losing their jobs, come from a place of this could be a good thing. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but this could be a really good thing. And what I was suggesting here, Jonas, is that if any of your friends lose their job, one of the things I like to say to people is if you weren't under stress at the moment, which I know you are, what would your perfect job look like? And I think I might even have asked you that, Jonas. And what I like to do is to take notes for them while they're telling me that, right? And then after that evening or the next day, I will take those notes and type them up and send them to them and say, by the way, in case you weren't listening to yourself, this is what you want for your next job. And people have actually thanked me for doing that, right? Because, it's like you've got a document that goes, this is what I'm looking for. Now, the other thing I found out is some people, if they're overwhelmed, will go, oh, I don't know what I want. Now, here's another trick I want to tell you that I've learned through the years. The trick is to say to people, okay, I understand you don't know what you want. By the way, what don't you want? And they'll go, what? And I say, what was it about your present job that you did not like and that you're happy to get rid of? Now, that is a really important question. So, you see, Jonas was saying about his previous job, he was uncomfortable, they didn't treat him well, and they talked down to him. So what do I know? Jonas likes to feel like he's part of the family, right? He wants to be comfortable when he goes to work, right? And he wants to be treated with respect. And he wants to be valued. You see, by telling me what he doesn't like, I know what he needs. All right, so now Jonas is saying about his present job, I don't know if I will be called back, but I don't mind if I don't. I'm ready to move on. Even though I love my job, I want something different. Even if it's not my dream job, I feel like I'm in a rut. So you see, Jonas, those are transferable things, your needs, all right? So you do know that those are important to you. But here, what skills did you have at the first job that you had that you could transfer to the second job? That's what I want to talk about, transferable skills. So, it's like they can't take your skill away from you, right? You take that with you. How many of you know that, it didn't matter how many jobs I had in my life, I always took my skill with me. And now you guys have watched me for a long time. You know a lot of my skills, right? And so to me, it was like I didn't have to think about what I was losing because I was more concerned about what they were losing, right? Because you just lost my brain. You just lost my people skills. You just lost my problem solving skills. You just lost my creativity, and I would literally go, okay, moving on. And so what I want you to see is for your friends so you can help them. Make sure that you remind them what transferable skills they have, because they will take their skills to the next level. Makes sense. And Jonas, even as you say, if you don't get called back to your present job that you have, you don't feel as insecure as you might have done because you now know what skills you have and what you have to offer. By the way, one of the things I think some of you know that I do, I know Pat knows that I do, and a couple of others, is I help work with people who are getting ready to do job interviews. And one of the things that I do when I help people is I help them see that there could be two equally qualified people come for an interview. And so the question is, why would they pick you over the other person who is just as well qualified? And quite honestly, I've always said, why did anybody ever employ me when I was not qualified on paper? Right? As some of you know, I never was allowed to go to university. My parents thought that's where they trained communism, and I wasn't allowed to go. And, the other thing was I was meant to, get through school, get married, and that would be, they didn't need me to go to university. Yeah, old school thinking. But, I never let that stop me, and I never let that stop me getting a job. All right, just because I didn't have the piece of paper, I didn't really worry about that. You see, my results spoke volumes. And I literally, people would say to me, but, we need somebody who's got a university degree on this. And I go, why? You don't want somebody who's a natural problem solver. You don't want somebody who is street smart. You see, and it was amazing. I constantly beat up people that were far better qualified on paper. Why? I had skills that you can't learn at different things. So I want you to make sure that your friends know that even though they've lost the job, as Jonas said, they haven't lost their skill. All right. As Jonas said, losing his first job, he saw that as a test run. All right. And it went much better the next time. So this is the whole thing. It's like, okay, I've now got an opportunity to upgrade my job. I've now got an opportunity to, how many of you know people who are in jobs that they hate, but they just can't be bothered to leave? It's too much trouble. Well, some of them are going to get some help now. They're not going to be invited back anyway. Because again, if you think about it, the difference between if you've got two people applying for a job and they have equal sort of qualifications, how do you pick the one? You pick the one you like better. You know what I mean? The one you think you can work with. And I think it's really important. Yes, Jonas is saying that in the interview process, the more he did interviews, the better he got. I had somebody actually phone me this week, Jonas, who applied for a job and got asked that question, what are your weaknesses? Hi, Sam. Good to see you. What are your weaknesses? And, I've trained anybody that I talk to about going for a job interview to be really waiting for that question. Make sure you got this one covered. Because what I teach people is make sure you turn your weaknesses around. So let me ask you, if you were in a job interview today, what would you say, if they asked you the question, and you need to be honest, right? What are your weaknesses? Let me turn some around for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So somebody give me some weaknesses and I'll show you how I do that. Yeah, Sam is saying, I hated my job for years and I worked for a luxury brand in retail. Yeah, just because it's a good name doesn't mean it's feeds your soul, right? All right, anybody give me a weakness? Doesn't have to be yours. It can be somebody you know. I just want to demonstrate how I would turn it around. All right, so Sam saying one of her weaknesses is, I have trouble saying no to things. Okay. And all right, and Jody says that she's impatient. All right, so let's say that I'm somebody that's got both those problems. So I'm going to go, well, something, I have some difficulty saying no to people, which probably, although it is a weakness, it probably also is a good thing. Because from my experience, not many people like to be told no. So what I've learned is how to say yes to people. But in a different way. For example, they might say to me, can I take the day off tomorrow? I might say, gosh, I would love to do that. Unfortunately, I won't be able to because the company rules. But so saying yes is a good thing. So is it a weakness? Yeah, it's definitely a weakness of mine, but I've learned how to work within that. And by the way, I'm also impatient. It is a weakness. For some people think being impatient is a weakness. However, what I found out is that being impatient also brings different qualities with it. You see, when you're impatient, you find different coping mechanisms. When you're impatient, you get more creative. Why? I want to get this finished. And so, may I ask you, Jody, what have you found out about being impatient? What qualities does it bring with you? All right, because I know that you've been making all those masks, and I know that you get impatient because the arthritis in your hands and all the other fibromyalgia and everything else you suffer from undoubtedly all flare up at the same time, and you get impatient with yourself. But what have you learned? Because you're impatient, what skills have you developed? Tell me that. So can you see that for every negative, if you remember, I learned that lesson very early on in my life when I was at a management thing and somebody asked the room to write down your top 3 bad points. And I had no problem writing those down. In fact, if I had to write down all my good points and my bad points in those days, I could have written, a whole volume on my bad points and, very little on my good points. Do any of you relate to that? And it was so funny because I heard him talk to somebody in the room and he turned their weaknesses around. And then he said, you have to know that sometimes in life, your weaknesses are your greatest strengths. And I always remember that your weaknesses are your greatest strengths. And that's what I said to this person that I was working with. Remember that. Remember to turn your weakness into your greatest strengths. And so I remember when that guy said that, I just rolled my eyes, like, hello, how stupid is he? And he said, because he was smart, he said, you obviously don't agree with me. And I went, he's getting smarter. And I said, that showed? And he went, yep. And I said, yeah. And so he said, well, why don't you give me your top 3 bad points? And for those who've heard them before, I'm certain you won't mind me repeating them. But, number 1, I talk too much. I have verbal diarrhea. Number 2, I don't have any qualifications, which is not strictly true because I showed you one last week. And then number 3, hang on. I talk too much, don't have any qualification. Oh, and I'm too honest for business. And it was so funny because this guy looked at me and said, oh, I thought you were going to give me something difficult. And I said, why? And he said, if your most natural talent is talking, why are you not talking for a living? And I went, what? What? He said, if your most natural talent is talking, Sal, why are you not talking for a living? And I said, well, what would I talk about? And he said, why don't you talk about being a success without any qualifications? You could be as honest as you like. It would be your story. And I went, yeah, but, the famous yeah, but. And I said, yeah, I'm not a success. And he looked at me and said, become one. And you will spend the rest of your life talking about it. How many of you going, true? All right, let me read up here what's been going on. Jonas is saying, I talked about my vulnerabilities and anxieties, but how I saw my vulnerabilities not as a weakness. Yes, but you do have it. And some people, by the way, weaknesses are somebody else's judgments, right? Sam saying, my job ran me into the ground, to be honest. I never said no, and I realized I was trying to balance too many things. I was over 12 years with that company, and I left last year. Well done. I'm glad, Sam, that you moved on. It means that you were ready to learn new things, right? And Jonas is saying, being outspoken about your vulnerabilities can actually be a strength. And acceptance of it in yourself is a positive experience. Yes, the fact that you don't fall apart when somebody asks you for your weaknesses, I start to laugh. Where would you like me to start? But, each one, I can turn it around and show where, it really has turned out to be one of my strengths as well. And for example, I was saying yesterday that one of my greatest talents as a manager was I'm a great delegator, right? I don't think I have to do everything myself. I just find people that I think would enjoy doing it and get them to help me, like Jody. Right? And, it's like, and the other thing is I throw things at Jody that she's never done before. And I go, well, play with it, see what happens. And if you run into a problem, let me know. Well, guess what? She'll play with it, same as I did, and she'll work it out because she's smart. And she doesn't quit, which is a talent I appreciate. Jody's saying, I found that that's a great opportunity to work on becoming more patient. Right, Tarek. Her impatience is a great opportunity to learn to be more patient. Being forced to slow down while sewing gives me a chance to be fully immersed in the experience of creating each mask with joy and love. Yes. Jonas is saying, and to mistake my vulnerabilities as my downfall demonstrates a lack of character and someone would not want to work for. We're all imperfect and human. Oh, Jonas, you have done so much learning. I love it. All right. And Sam is saying, I started a computer and office skills course in September. I loved it. Didn't think I would, but I'm still doing it from home now because of the lockdown. And so I absolutely have no idea what I will work at, as I've never done computers before. I did it as I felt all the younger people will have those qualifications, and I have nothing. Oh, you have so much, Sam. You have so much. You see, I don't know you very well yet, Sam, but I already know some of your qualities. You see, to be part of Dear Mama Sal, what do I know? You love to learn. All right? You love to learn. You are honest. Why? I found that people who join in with Dear Mama Sal, they have an authenticity about them. And that is really important. It's a heck of a quality. So what skills are you learning? Oh no, Sam saying your kind words make me feel good. Thank you. Well, hello. Tell me I'm lying. you know, if I'm lying, you let me know. So, to me, one of the important things is that if I were an employer and I heard that at whatever age that you are, that you had gone back to school to upgrade your skills, I would see that as a positive. But I probably would say that, you realize that I need to keep up with present technology. I went back because I wanted to make sure I was up to date with the present technology. I've been in the last job for however many years it was, and they didn't continue our technical training at all. They didn't have courses to keep upgrading our technical skills. So the first thing I knew I needed was to upgrade my technical skills to get into the current wave. As an employer, a potential employer, I go, like this lady. Why? She keeps up to date. Yeah. One of the other things I will tell all my students that I work with is make sure you're up to date with news. You don't want to hear a question like, what did you think about the crash in Karachi this morning? And you're going, there was a crash. You see, what that tells an employer is that you don't keep up to date with things. So think about that. They're little things that are really important. Now, it's a trick question, but you'll be amazed how many times things like that will make all the difference. But if, on the other hand, you go, gosh, isn't it incredible that happened? And, you start talking about it, then they go, wow, they definitely kept up to date. Okay, so Sam's doing bookkeeping and maths. Yeah, so lots of spreadsheets and stuff. I love that. Yeah, that analytical part of me loves spreadsheets to pieces. I teach people all sorts of incredibly fun things on spreadsheets, because if ever I can help you, you let me know, Sam. It's sort of, passion of mine. So if a friend of yours loses a job, can you see that you can empower them rather than destroy them? All right. So when I hear of a friend of mine loses a job, I will literally go, okay, so moving on. Let's just remember, what skills have you got that you're going to transfer? And I'll start taking notes, and we'll work through that. But the thing I don't say is, I will say I'm sad, because that's human nature, because I am sad. But then I will immediately say, but maybe not so sad as you think, because I don't really think you were that happy there, were you? And then I will turn it around and start working on the other side. All right. And then I also will, and I ask this question, how can I best support you now? And so quite often you will hear, oh, I'm fine, thank you. I said, yeah, I know you're fine. That's why you're a friend. But the thing is this, how can I best support you now? Because we're going to need to get you another job. And so offer to do research for them, offer to, sort of say, okay, what are we looking for next? Because I'll keep looking too for you. Right. Now, it's not that you are going to enable them. You're just going to increase their possibilities. Make sense? So I quite often help. I can imagine Jody would do that automatically for anybody, because she loves to research as well. And so, this is a really good thing if you're looking for a job. The next thing is, I would think marketing wise, what sort of jobs are going to be looking for people? And then have you updated your resume? All right. So do me a favor, update it and then send it to me, and I'll run through it for you. And the other thing I find is that a lot of people will send me stuff because they know I like to read through things. And when I say read through things, I used to be in publishing, so I've got quite a quick eye for a mistake. And even to the effect that Yvonne's brother wrote the obituary for Papa who died, and they didn't send it to me to check, and there was a typo in it. And as I read it, the first thing that jumped out was the typo, so I immediately let Yvonne know so they could get it changed. And she said, I should have run it by you first, right? And I said, no, it's okay. So here's the thing. I also will talk to people if they're hung up about being fired or laid off or whatever. I will go, well, you do know that you have now joined a very elite group of people. If somebody came to me once because they had worked their way up to earning millions and then lost it all. And I went, oh, good. And they went, good? Yeah. Because if you know how to make $1 million once, making it the second time doesn't take so much time, because this time you'll know what to watch out for and you'll be a lot more careful. So, my question is, what are you going to do to make the second $1 million? And let me know how I can help you there. You see, to me, it's like if you've made $1 million once, making it the second time is easier, not more difficult. And so to me, this is about how can I help you? And 9 times out of 10, I'm pretty sure you guys will agree with me that brainstorming is huge. To be able to talk to somebody and talk about what it is they're looking for, what it is they're thinking of doing, to get different options, get different ideas going, that sort of fills you full of hope. So to me, I remind people how many highly successful people either went bankrupt or got fired or got laid off or whatever. And it didn't end up ruining their career. It ended up making their career. All right. And so I'm going to give you some reminders of that at the end here. But before I do that, I want to ask you, have any of you learned anything by being in lockdown? As I said, that, in a lot of places now, they're lifting some of the restrictions, but be prepared, not scared. Just because you can go out doesn't mean that you should, right? If you don't have to, please don't. It's going to be very dangerous out there now. And so, but I want to know, what have you learned through the pandemic hitting and being in lockdown? What have you already learned? We've got a long way to go, I believe. But I want to know, what have you already learned? I found it really interesting that part of the broadcast we were doing yesterday, we were talking to Bernice, and Bernice was showing us that she has literally turned their apartment into a grocery store. I mean, I think that would be the best way to describe it, right? She had boxes of food, in rubber plastic tubs, those big plastic totes. You cannot believe how much food she had stocked up. And she said something so simple, I thought, and that was, I hate to be hungry. Now, two of the totes, I think it was two of those big totes, right, were full of snacks. Snacks. And I'm busy with flour and rice, baked beans, chunky soups. Yeah. I don't have candy because, and stuff, because if I had them, what would happen. But I'm going, imagine having the self-discipline to be able to have totes full of snacks. Oh, yeah. And not be pre-diabetic. So what have you learned from being in lockdown? Tell me. I've learned that you don't have to feel guilty about watching another episode of your favorite thing that you're streaming. Mind you, retirement does that for me as well. I have to keep, I keep saying, I didn't get to bed until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because I watched yet another episode. And then I'm going, but I worked a whole lifetime for the right to be able to do that. So that's sort of like a discipline thing gone out the window for me. My time clock has completely changed. But I think that's more about being retired than it is about anything else. Pat's loving it. Yes. Because, Pat, you are very self-entertained. You know what I mean. You've always entertained yourself. You've got more time with the children. You've got, you know what I mean. You've always had hobbies inside the house, not outside. But are you guys missing going out in the trailer, or are you still going out in the trailer? And so that is a question. Will you be taking the trailer out, Pat? Why have I got my coffee on that side today? Stupid. Not stupid. There must be a reason, and I'm not quite sure what it is. Oh, interesting. So Pat's going, and no daily drama, or getting kids off to school and stuff. You'll be allowed to go camping in 2 weeks. Really? So, that's something really nice to look forward to, because at least, but when you're camping, how will you keep the children socially distant? Because one of the joys of camping is all the kids running around together, right? So Sam is saying, okay, so I wouldn't call myself materialistic. I feel with the lockdown that you appreciate the simpler things in life. I always do, though. I miss my grandson so much. Yeah. Of course, that's something I've said. I'm a hugger. And you can imagine, for me, not being able to hug people is very difficult for me. And Jody's saying that I've learned that I feel comfortable fasting. living with less, conserving as much as possible, and stretching what we have as far as it will go. I haven't been bored for a minute for a minute during lockdown. Yeah, I believe that. I was saying to my sister, I'm busier in lockdown than I was before it. You've had no new cases in 2 weeks out there in Newfoundland. Is that right? That's amazing, Pat. But then that's Canada, right? All right. So Niasha said she's learned from being in lockdown not to take things for granted. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So Pat is saying this thing, be prepared, not scared. Pat's saying just because we can go camping doesn't mean that we will. Of course, you're still nervous. And I think I would not be nervous if I could control where they are. But it's like you don't control children in a campground very well, right? From my experience, it's just called, okay, go play with the others. Make sure you come back when the sun goes down or whatever it is. Um, in fact, I used to, when I took young Cody camping with me, I used to say, I want you back reporting in every hour. Well, we might be playing. I said, if you want to carry on playing, report in every hour. Because if you do report in every hour, I'll send you off for another hour. Because that means you got discipline and that you are aware what the time is. And you'll never be that far away because you got to report back in an hour, right? And I'm going, no, it's your choice. If you want to carry on playing, just come back each hour. And I know it's inconvenient, but then you'll be able to rush back again and also get some more exercise. Isabel saying, hi, Isabel. I learned that I was shopping too much. I saved so much money during COVID. I lost my job temporarily and finally realized that you have to be in shape, to be strong, to face something like a virus. Yes. And Sam is saying, but Sal, I've always meant to join your channel and never seemed to have the time. I knew of you from Benji, and now with lockdown, I appreciate your wisdom, and that makes me cry. Thank you. Jamie saying California just got a couple of new cases in LA, Riverside County, I heard. Yep, it's going to happen, Jamie. You be prepared, not scared, honey. Right, Pat. Pat saying, even though they're opening up camping, only RVs with self-supplied water and bathroom will be allowed. In other words, they won't be using the camp facilities, all right? You won't be allowed to use the camp showers and toilets and stuff. Yes, and Jamie's saying, she's learned to take extra precautions. Yeah, I've got to say, I want to go back to Jodi's point. Jodi, I really relate to that. I literally find that I know this is going to make a lot of you laugh, but one of the things that I do is I bought Spam. Now, some people love Spam and some people hate it, but I grew up eating Spam a long time ago. And literally, I will open up a can of Spam. And whereas in the old days, I would eat the whole can, I was capable of doing that. I literally cut it into 6 pieces. I do, right? And then I freeze 5 of them, and then I cut the 6th section into small bits and throw it in my daily salad. That's my protein. If I don't have a boiled egg, I'll have some Spam. And so it's really quite funny. Yesterday on my salad, I allowed myself 2 strips of bacon. Does it freeze? It freezes very well. And the other thing is you can heat it up in the microwave because, if you want to, or you can just leave it to defrost. But I found it, you can also nuke it for 30 seconds and, it softens it up again and it's fine. So to me, I'm, doing these things. The other thing is I am cooking differently. what I've decided was, by the way, I'm spending more than I was before. I've got to say that, shopping wise. Why? Because I'm still stocking up. But so that is costing me more. But I'm pretty sure that once I've got, all the hydroponics working, and everything. By the way, just so that uh, in terms of full disclosure, I had this mixed lettuce that I got this week. It didn't. It was two different ones together, and it didn't like getting separated. The one died immediately, and this one, it's beginning to die off, but everything else is working beautifully. And this is the original one, I believe. Yeah, the mid-April one. The roots are doing beautifully, and it just keeps coming up with more and more leaves. And this week, this was the big one last week. I actually cut a lot of the leaves off the top. Normally, I take the leaves off the bottom. I just want to see what, you know me, I'm about experiments, right? I just wanted to see what changes if I take the leaves off the top. I literally sort of gave it a straight haircut and used those leaves. But this one's been going since late April, and look at that, it's going beautifully. And this is one of those ones that I grew from a stub. It's just the bottom of a cob, no, what do you call it? Romaine lettuce that I just took the bottom of it. And it's taken a long time to do that, I don't mind telling you. But it's good. And I'm getting close to being almost self-sufficient on it. I'm going to, if all those grow, I'm going to have enough to share with my neighbors. All right, so Sam's saying, Erin's saying, I'm not bored. It seems I have more to do now and go to church, Bible study, and take essential oil classes all online. Exactly. How many of you are going, I am so grateful for the internet? Like I keep thinking, boy, imagine what this would have been like without the internet. Having to phone people, and it's just like, yikes. I am now so happy because certain friends of mine who never wanted to do any sort of face-to-face video stuff, now I just teach them how to do it and going, I need to see you. We need to have coffee. So I'm going to phone you on Facebook. So be ready. And you're just going to click a button when it asks you, Sal's calling. Do you want to accept it? Go, yes, accept. And, I'm now doing it with quite a few friends. All right. So Sam is saying, when I said earlier that my job ran me into the ground, I ended up with sepsis and TB. Wow. And I nearly didn't make it. And that's what really makes you appreciate the simple things. Yes. I have now, just so you know, Sam, I've got enough herbs in my garden, with parsley and chives. I've got enough now because it's starting to really grow fast. That last week I gave herbs to 4 different neighbors, and that's what I do every Monday. I cut the herbs and I make little packages of them and I drop them off at my neighbors. I'm now was able to drop off 4 packages this week, and I'll just keep expanding it. It's like somebody said, does anybody know who's supplying the herbs? And my neighbor said, yeah, that'll be Sal. So keep looking at what you're learning, because I believe this whole shift for us all is here to teach us that we are more self-sufficient than you thought so. So how many of you are going, remember, hi Bernice, I was just talking about you and your incredible grocery store in your apartment. And how I envy you being able to have 2 boxes, 2 of those big totes full of snacks. I couldn't do it. I just eat them. It's just like, I know I would eat them. So I can't do it. I allow myself, the nearest I get to it is I allow myself to buy, things like rice crackers, you know. And tell you how bad it was last night, I did so well not eating carbs yesterday. And then it got to midnight and I consumed about a third of a bag, about 2 cups of chow mein noodles, dry. Yeah. So one tote is yours and the other is your hubby's. Okay, that's wonderful. How many of you are changing your eating habits? Jody was saying that they're making things stretch a lot farther, which I think is great. I also have okay, what I do is I will cook some rice, not too much, and then I will put it into 1 cup containers. Normally I have enough for this meal and maybe an extra 1 cup, all right? And I keep that 1 cup in the fridge. And then the next night I may make something with a potato, but instead of a whole potato, I only use half. Or if it's a big one, I might even use a third or a quarter. But then I leave that in a little jar, and so what I'm doing is I keep rotating the stuff, and now I'm going, what meat am I going to have today? And quite often I don't have meat because the stuff that I've got maybe already has meat in it, because I made this fried rice with pork, let's say, bits in it, and I've got enough meat in there for the next day. So it's really nice. Okay, so Sakura's saying I've been adding more rice as fiber. Hubby doesn't notice. Yes, you know what I did? I was so proud of myself when I bought a small sack of rice and I bought a small sack of brown rice rather than white. Yes, Sam's saying I'm really watching the food portions. I think that we all need to be aware of that, right? That we've been eating far too much. And when you realize how much poverty and starvation there is going to be around the world, that already was online around the world because of global warming and everything. And now you've got the pandemic wiping out so many people, and it will be horrific in Africa and India and places like that by the time we get the final figures, which probably take 2 years. We will be horrified how many people got killed through this. But when you look at it, we will all learn so many good lessons. And if you talk to anybody who lived through the war years, right, they all were masters at eating, reusing food in different ways and creative ways and whatever. I've now found that, in the old days, if a carrot went a bit limp, it would get thrown out. Not now. Carrot goes limp now. I cut it up and I put it in with some rice, or I put it in with, you know what I mean? It's just like I find just because you're not looking as fresh as you were last week, you're still getting eaten, buddy. So I would think that, some of us are going to learn. Oh, Jody learned a new skill through lockdown, right? She learned how to make masks. I think people's skills come out a lot more. So remind your friends that you've just been given an opportunity, if you've got laid off, to actually spend a bit of time doing what you would like. What haven't you given yourself time to do? And they'll say, oh, well, I need to go looking for a job. I said, yeah, but why don't you take a week off? Why don't you take a week off and just read? Give yourself permission. And that's one thing we can do as a friend, is to give them permission to look after themselves better. Yeah, Sakura also saying that she thinks more now about what can be frozen and what can't. I don't know about you. I am now trying to buy things that don't need to be frozen, although I did manage to get an order in for a new freezer. I bought a chest freezer, and but what I'm going to fill it with will be not pre-prepared food as much as I want to put the basic foods in there, put extra meat in there, extra vegetables in there, and so forth, so that if there does become a shortage, I can make, because I now know that I can make a full meal out of a piece of meat that big now. All right. And so I will be buying roasts rather than cut up meat. And I really recommend that. Because, and if you are in a financial position to be able to buy half a pig or something, or half a cow, do it. You're right. Because that'll be the way to go. So to me, I'm learning, quite honestly, my big worry is I don't know about the rest of you, but I keep going, what am I going to really be upset about if I can't get? And I don't know what it was for you. For me, it was cheese. What if I can't get cheese and milk? I'm a dairy person, right? That's because I got nails. And it's like, what? And so with Jodie's help, I found out that you can actually buy powdered cheese. I did not know that. I have not lived, apparently. But it's real cheese, but it's dehydrated. I already use powdered skim milk for my coffees. But boy, that's getting difficult to get hold of now. So now I'm sort of literally looking, expanding my range to try and get some, because I don't want to be without my powdered milk. It's like, I need that for my latte. It's very important to me. And I found out that I bought a whole box of full cream milk, so that if there is a shortage, I will be able to, use it for baking and stuff. Oh, do you want to see it, Sam? I can show you now. It's so exciting. Oh, good. I'll be right back. Okay. Made with real cheese. Now, it's probably got lots of other fillers in it, but hang on a second. You're probably going to ask me, what does it taste like? Yeah, thank Jodie. Don't thank me. Okay, well, let me get some glasses on here, people. I want to see how dangerous it is. Well, the nice thing is that you can sprinkle it on top of stuff, right? What is it saying? 1 tablespoon is 25 calories. That's not too bad, I guess. 5 milligrams of cholesterol, 8% sodium. We would expect that. It's only got 1% carbs. But what they're saying is, you can sprinkle it on a pizza, or you can sprinkle it on a soup or popcorn even. So, and by the way, my be prepared, not scared. Whenever I can buy a big thing of something, I'm doing it, right? Because if necessary, shelf life, very good question. Hang on a second. Jodie probably knows, because she knows everything. It says until August. Now, does it taste like the real thing? Well, it's made from the real thing, so you're going to make me open it up now. But once I've opened it, I will need to... Okay, I can take that risk. No, I don't want to open it, because once I've opened it, I will need to store it differently. No, okay. I know I don't have to. I made a choice there. Is it the cheese they put in Kraft Dinner? I would probably imagine so. No artificial preservative flavors or colors. Once I open this, I will put it into small baggies and freeze it. All right. So that is, and I won't. I'll try and do that in August. Right. I will try not to open it until it's nearly the due date. Makes sense. And then I will decant it into the freezer. By the way, you all know that you can freeze cheese, right? And it's the fastest way to make shredded cheese, because if you take a block of cheese and freeze it, when you go to get it, when you go to cut it, it'll crumble. It's really great. So, but if you just sprinkle it on top of something, I'm really looking forward to doing that, quite honestly. And as you know, I also freeze, I freeze butter all the time. Leftover bread, I'm now making into breadcrumbs, frying. Why? Really nice to throw over, over some vegetables, or makes a little bit crunchy. It is good on popcorn as well. Yes, the cheese. Yeah, they do recommend that. A bit of extra cheese on a pizza, or if you're making a pizza, you can just sprinkle some. So it also, I think, helps control, and it doesn't look like it's too bad. So again, let's do what we can. And Jody, thank you so much for recommending that I get it. The only thing I haven't been able to do well is the powdered. What did I get, Jody? The powdered meringue, right? I did fail miserably on this, but I guess I didn't put sugar with it, and that's why it failed. Right, so Sam also got a chest freezer. Yeah, I got one, and it won't be coming until mid-July. So what I'm doing at the moment as well is I'm trying to use stuff that is in my freezer, because I now know that I can restock and have a lot more freezer space. I've got a bigger freezer coming than I need, because I think also, I said to Doug, if he needs to store some meat, I will have a freezer big enough to help. I would say that an extra small chest freezer, that you can use as a table with some roasts in it, would not be a bad idea, if you can afford it. And part of me goes, I would sell it to hubby as cost saving, because what is happening to the price of food right now where you live? Okay, so he's saying that you could have a large one when you go to Texas. When do you go to Texas? Everything's bigger in Texas, right? Right, that's the end of the year, right? Do you know how difficult it is to get freezers? If you want to have one in Texas, you probably want to order it now. Jody and I both found that out. I managed to get one, and the earliest delivery was July. Jody just managed to order one, and the earliest she could get delivery was mid-August. So do you understand that if you want a big chest freezer, they are going to be like gold dust if the price of food goes up anymore? So my attitude is, would a small chest freezer be worth the money? How much will a small chest freezer cost you? Jody got half the size of the one I'm getting. That was 7 cube, right, Jody? And that ended up costing her about $300 by the time all the bits and pieces and delivery were on there. I bought 15 cube, and that cost me $650 with delivery and everything else in Canadian. So you understand, it's like I think at worst, I'm going to have a new cutting table in my craft room. I'm looking at multi-purposing Sakura. Now that is smart. Now that is smart. Sakura's saying, the thing is, we don't have a place yet, but I will ask him if we can order one and let the parents have it now in Texas. Clever. Of course, they won't want to let go of it once you get there, but never mind. At Costco, it was 150. Boy, if you can get a big chest freezer for 150, get it. In fact, I'd buy two, one for the parents and one for yourselves. And I'm not joking. All right, now then, I want to tell you something that made a big difference. Yeah, Jody's also saying that, buy two. Yeah, interesting, Jody. That was my instant reaction. If I could buy a chest freezer for 150 now, I'd buy it and I'd probably resell it. Yeah, but maybe the parents down in Texas has got enough for two, right? Think creatively. And tell them, that you found freezers and they're going to be like gold dust, but you found them for 150 at Costco and you want to buy a couple. Yeah, that's what I'd be doing. Would they like one? All right, so here's what I found out. At one time in my life, I went to therapy. And there was a huge stigma about going to therapy in the old days, and luckily it isn't like that anymore. But I remember sitting my first day of going to therapy, and above the door to where I was going to see the therapist, there was this incredible notice, sort of quote up there, and it said, and you couldn't help but read it because it was right above the door where you were going through, and it said, as you walk through this door, remember how many famous people also had depression. And then it listed, Winston Churchill, Vivian Lee, think about it, Catherine Zeta-Jones, what it wasn't on that list, but today, when you think of all the people who've had mental health issues, and it never stopped them from doing what they wanted to do, they just went on and did it anyway. And I always remember, boy, if those people suffered from depression, then that feels better somehow. Do you understand what I'm saying? That it's like, it doesn't mean that I am crazy. It means that I have a bigger challenge. And so to me, I'm really grateful that we live in this day and age. And what the reason I'm quoting that is because when somebody loses their job, they're going to feel like a loser. And what I want you to do is to actually take some of these stories that I'm about to tell you and make sure that you've got them and that you can tell them about how many famous people, were told that they were useless or lost their jobs or whatever. And what it did is it made them. It didn't ruin their lives, it made them. And that to me is what is so incredibly important. And I just want to get to where I've got those quotes. Hang on one second, please. Because I put them up here somewhere. Just bear with me. And it's all about how we look at things, right? So it's about, don't be scared about losing a job. Be prepared that you could. If you have a job, be prepared that you may lose it. Oh, come on. Don't be useless here. Okay. This is definitely not being nice to me. Hold on one second. Why did it not work? Okay. I've got to send myself the link again. Hold on one second, people. Oh, and I probably took it down. Oops. Here we go. I'm sorry, for some reason my link didn't work. We can do this. We can make a plan, people, because we are smart. Just be patient, if you will. How many of you are learning more patience through lockdown? Worked beautifully when I did the test run earlier, but never mind. Didn't work perfectly this time, did it? Okay. Now let me open it up again here. Ha! Thank you. All right, let's see if we can go forward again. Now get me back on screen. All right, let me just see what people have said here. And Sakura said her hubby said no. Now she wishes she has her own money. Yeah, even extraordinary people are people too, and we forget that they've had tough times. That's so true, right? Oh, that's interesting. Sakura's saying that her husband is expected to be laid off because of the benefits as well as moving to Texas. Yes, make sure you're prepared to get all the benefits you possibly can if he gets laid off, right? And normally they will extend your health care for, I think, about 18 months or something, as long as you pay for it yourself, right? Be patient like a circle. Yes. You're quite right. Be patient like a circle, Auntie Mel. I use that all the time. All right. So you all remember that J.K. Rowling of Harry Potter fame was literally living in her car. All right. And she said, it is impossible to live without failing at something, unless you live so cautiously that you might as well not have lived at all, in which case you have failed by default. So think about that. We can say, my sister's already talking about going out and doing things, and there's part of me going, really? But she's not, although she's older than I am, she's not as high a risk as I am. All right. And so, for her, it's not quite as dangerous as it is for me. But the truth is, it's okay if that's what she wants to do. She's 79. If she wants to take that risk, that is her right. Remember not to judge other people. All right. You're only responsible for your behavior, not somebody else's. So J.K. Rowling was living off welfare when she wrote that first Harry Potter book. And even after the draft was completed, she struggled to find a publisher who was be willing to take a chance on it. She struggled with depression and was a single mother and had no idea where to go next. But finally, at Bloomsbury Publishing, an editor's daughter got hold of the manuscript and begged to be able to read the whole thing. How many of you got goosebumps? And the rest is history. In 1997, the first Harry Potter book was published. In 2004, J.K. Rowling became the first billionaire author. Billionaire she is now. Have you got goosebumps? Because I have. So if anybody loses a job, will you remind them to follow their passion? I also read somewhere that J.K. Rowling got fired from a job once because she spent her time writing on the company computer. Right. Yes, let the kids have the manuscript. The kids were begging to read the book, right? And so she knew Right, this like that that editor knew this was a good book. And by the way, I remember an adult saying to me, "Have you read Harry Potter?" This was long before it became popular, and long before I saw that it was popular anyway. And I said, "No, why?" And she said, "Well, it's a children's book, but boy, is it fun to read." And I'm going, "Really?" And next thing I knew, it was movies and more books, and Did you know that Marilyn Monroe, one of her first agencies, turned her down and recommended she find a job in the secretarial field because she'd never succeed as a model? Okay. Okay, Pat. See you all tonight, hopefully. Now, perhaps the most famous person in terms of failures had to be Edison, who failed over 30,000 times, they tell us, to create the light bulb. But here is the thing. Did you know that Thomas Edison's teachers openly told him that he was too stupid to learn anything? He probably began to think they were right when he set his mind off to build the first viable light bulb. But oh no, 10,000 tries later, I heard it was 30,000 actually, but never mind, he finally nailed it. And that's why we have the electric light today. Somebody who did not give up. Somebody whose passion was to find a way to get that to work. That was his passion. He was prepared to eat baked beans on toast or do whatever it took for the right to do that. I've got to ask you, what is it you're passionate about? What is it your friend is passionate about? Yes, Sakura, Bernice, exactly. Thanks to him, I can see indoors at night. Yes. Thanks to him, you could study at night as well. One of the big issues that they had in Africa and India and everything, where they had communities without light bulbs, is that the children, could only study at certain times. They couldn't do their homework at night because it was dark. And so one of the big things was to bring solar power and light to the rural areas so they would have that ability. Now, how about Stephen King? Right? Pretty well known, right? They're saying that you couldn't pay anybody to take Stephen King's first novel. What was it, Carrie, right? And he was told, we're not interested in science fiction, which deals in negative utopias. They do not sell. That's what one publisher told him. King was eventually driven to the point where he threw the entire typed out text into the trash can, and his wife, Tabitha, I think, retrieved it for him and urged him to keep on trying, and he did. And I think to me, that is, it's like, can you imagine if your husband wrote a whole manuscript and it just kept getting refused? You see, this is the story about being an author. You are going to get refused by everybody, a lot, but you're waiting for that one person. It's like selling a house, right? And apparently, a lot of people came to see this house. And most people, thought it was overpriced or whatever. I don't know what the deal was. But as I've always said, the same as I waited a long time to sell my house, I was waiting for the person that walked in and loved it the way that I did. That was the person that was going to buy it. I walked in here, I stood in this kitchen. I stood right here where I am, and I could see myself very comfortable standing right here. I'm not joking. It was just like, and then I saw the other space and everything else, and the glitches in it, I just didn't worry about, because why? I could feel right. Yeah. All right. So Bernice is saying she's passionate about organizing. Yes. And this is the whole thing. There are jobs helping people organize, and it is like really important. I had to show, when I first met Yvonne, who has OCD, I had to show her that having OCD was an incredible talent. If she could see it, it's an incredible talent. All right. Her photographic memory. Oh God, what a talent. I never, I used to just say to people, hold on a second, I don't keep information like that in my head. But when did so-and-so happen? And, she go Thursday the 24th at 4:32. It was raining. I just, you got to love it, right? Henry Ford of Ford Motors. Henry Ford got his financial backing for his first automobile company in 1900. Production of his new vehicles was taking longer than expected. However, his investors dumped him after only a year and a half. Imagine how they felt later. Okay, he received another chance a few years later, but once again failed to produce a viable automobile. Henry Ford was down and out. However, he eventually received backing to try a third time. It was this company that produced the Ford Model A, the forerunner to the Model T, and all other Ford vehicles to come over the next century. Anybody got goosebumps? All right? Because to me, that's what we need to hear. Bill Gates, a college dropout and owner of a failed business, nobody would have expected the young Bill Gates to go anywhere. He eventually tried starting a new company called Microsoft, and the rest, as they say, is history. And look at what he does today in terms of he has so much money. What does he do with it? He uses it for the good of the world. How many of you would love to have that sort of money to be able to do that? Colonel Sanders, as we know, he said, you've got to like your work. You have to like what you're doing, and you have to be doing something worthwhile so you can like it. Because if it's worthwhile, it doesn't make a difference, you see. Right? Sanders' early career was plagued with failure. He was a failure as a tire salesman. The gas station he managed closed during the Great Depression. His North Carolina storefront had burned to the ground, and even at the age of 65, his one successful chicken restaurant was going out of business because of a new highway route. Despite all of this, he never quit. He began franchising out his chicken and eventually made a fortune with Kentucky Fried Chicken. And Will Smith, you will be surprised to hear, he said, throughout life, people will make you mad. They will disrespect you. They will treat you bad. Let God deal with the things they do, because hate in your heart will consume you too. Will Smith owed the IRS over $2.8 million in 1989. Seeing his finances fall apart around him, he desperately looked for a new avenue to support himself. He found it when he was signed as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Steven Spielberg said, you have many years ahead of you to create the dreams that you can't even imagine dreaming. You have done more for the collective unconscious of this planet than you will ever know. You see, because his grades didn't hit the mark, Spielberg was rejected from the Southern California School of Cinematic Arts, not once, not twice, but on 3 separate occasions. Decades later, he is now a trustee at the university. I heard a story once that Spielberg decided to go back or something to do a course about filming and so forth. And he used something like E.T. as his model. You know what I mean? And his thesis, he did it on E.T. or something like that. And so he literally had already done what they were trying to teach him to do, but he'd done it without the piece of paper. We love that. And Einstein, you see, he said, try not to become a man of success, but try to become a man of value. Right? Einstein didn't speak much more than a word until he was 9. Did you know that? Causing many adults and teachers to assume that he was mentally slow. He was expelled from school for his disrespectful and rebellious attitude, and he was denied entrance to another. Today, his name is synonymous with genius. And this is a very often quoted thing. Michael Jordan said, I can accept failure, anyone who fails at something. Everyone fails at something, but I cannot accept not trying. You see, 2 of my lettuces that I bought this week died immediately. I expect that. You see, I'm prepared to have a couple of them die, right? Because I deal in reality. They're not all going to make it. But look how many are doing great. It's so exciting. Dr. Seuss, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing's going to get better. It's not. Over 20 publishers refused to accept Dr. Seuss's first children's book. He now has published dozens upon dozens, and it's a household name for everyone with kids, for everyone who was ever once a kid themselves. Hi, Jeannie, good to see you. Hi, Islands, Fastest Fist, how nice to see you too. And so you understand, this is all about, if you lose your job, it could be the greatest opportunity of a lifetime. Oprah said, be thankful for what you have, you'll end up having more. If you concentrate on what you don't have, you will never, ever have enough. So even through this time when we could end up with shortages, be grateful for what you have. Do you have a roof over your head? Be grateful. You know, do you have a chair to sit on? Be grateful, because some people don't. They're going to be living on the street. You know, do you have electricity? Be grateful. Do you have the internet still? Be grateful. And Oprah was fired from her first anchoring job because the station thought she got too emotionally invested in her stories. Why do we love Oprah? Because she gets emotional. And the Wright brothers said, Orville Wright said, the aeroplane stays up because it doesn't have the time to fall, right? It's so busy moving forward that it doesn't drop. Think about that. There's so much force pushing it forward that it doesn't fall out of the sky. Pretty much everyone told the Wright brothers that what they wanted to do was impossible. And the skeptics were proven right every single time. Until that one fateful day at Kitty Hawk when they weren't. I did a speech once to an investment banking, a big, development bank type organization. And I had all these bankers in the room with me. And I said to them, I've got to ask you, the next entrepreneur that walks in and you listen to their story and you think, really? Would you remember that the Wright brothers had those bankers too, except somebody funded them? My question is, sure, there will be risk, but I wouldn't have flown in to give you this talk today had it not been for the Wright brothers. That's what I told them. You just flew me all the way from British Columbia, Canada to here to do this speech. And I did it because of the Wright brothers. So when you sit in judgment of the next entrepreneur with a fanciful idea, Remember that, please. All right, Jeannie's saying, I lost a wonderful job as secretary to the Maine Dental Association. All right, a dentist hired his wife after moving the office, right? I was devastated, decided it was time for me to get a master's degree. Yep, you see, that's exactly what my point is, that the failure turns out to be the greatest success, all right? Now, you probably know this quote where Harrison Ford said, I've always been somebody somewhere down from the top. I've never had to suffer from being knocked down from the top. After his first movie role, producer told Harrison Ford that he should get out of showbiz because he'd never succeed there. He eventually began working part-time as a carpenter to pay the bills, which sustained him long enough to meet a young filmmaker named George Lucas, and Star Wars came about. So what I want you to know is through sadness, through lack, through whatever looks like a bad thing, great things happen. Great things happen, all right? We are learning so much. If you give thanks to the fact that you are learning how not to waste food again, it is wonderful. Okay, so bye-bye to you there, Pafsvest. Good to see you. And thank you for popping in. And so what I want you to do is if a friend of yours loses their job, gets laid off, whatever, help them make sure they get all the benefits they can, all right? Because quite honestly, I don't think, first of all, that you're allowed to lay people off because of it. I don't know. You know, make sure that you're doing the research, all right? And if you can't do it, ask Jody. All right, to find out what your rights are as an employee. And so what I want you all to do is to not see this as a huge loss. It could be the best thing that ever happened to you or your friend. Valentine's Day is just 8 months and 27 days away. Christmas, a mere 216 days. We have 6 months and 2 weeks to get our Christmas cards in the mail, and we'll still be late. Thanksgiving is 6 months away in the US, and we Canadians only have 4 months and 23 days because we have ours in October. You are so lucky. In the US, you have 1 month and 24 days to complete your taxes. Canadians, we've got 10 days. For me, it is interesting that I have now lived in my home for a third of a year. And in some ways, I've done a great deal. And in some ways, I still feel that I haven't. And the reason I realized is because I chose not to put all the boxes into storage and bring them out one by one. All right? I didn't want to do that. I have had all the boxes in my house and in the storage shed all the time. All right, they're all with me. And what I'm doing now is I am realizing I'm actually doing better than I gave myself credit for. Sure, I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 boxes still in my dining room. But what do we know? They can't be that important to me because I haven't unpacked them. I haven't said, where is the so-and-so? It must be in one of those boxes because all those have to do with the dining room. And I think one of them is still for the kitchen, right? So no rush, really. I can do it. I'm working pretty hard now in the craft room. Why? I'm making room for the big cutting table. That's called the freezer. You see, to me, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be my cutting table. Because I found out it's going to be just the same size as my L-shaped area to my desk, and it's going to have a big top to it. You know, it was funny, in my old house, I had an old non-working chest freezer, and we used it to fold clothes on, and we used it for storage. And it was quite funny because when I left, I actually said to the buyers, would you like the freezer? It makes a great folding table. And they said, no. Okay, fine. And Yvonne's going, it's not the same without the freezer. She says, keeps turning to fold her clothes and the clothes fall on the ground. So to me, Erin, I'm trying to sort of lighten up on myself that I haven't finished unpacking. I told you it would take at least a year. So here we are at 1/4 of a year, and I would say I'm probably 2/3 done in the house. And I probably, some of the boxes that are in the house will probably end up being, once I've cleared a few out of the storage, they're probably going to end up in the storage. But you know what I'm doing is boxes that I know have been, boxed up for 6 months or more, I haven't needed anything in there very much. And so what I'm doing, and that's the way I work now, I was telling Nyasha, this is how I do it, but I literally am just emptying the box on my bed because I'm going to clear it before I go to bed. And then I just literally am resorting what's in the box. I'm going, seriously, do you want to keep this? Okay. And because I only get to throw rubbish out every 2 weeks, I have to be selective about what I do throw out. But here's the thing. I've got a big box sitting outside, stuff that's going to go to the Goodwill. And it can stay there, it's on the covered deck. It can stay there for a long time because if anybody steals out of it, it's not the end of the world. I'm just hucking stuff in there that I go, no, that can go. And by the way, I've pulled 2 things out of there already. Why? Because I thought I didn't need it. And then I went, yes, I do. So this is about learning, right? We're all learning new things. I am learning how to get things to work. I am experimenting because that's fun. What instead of a beautiful plant this year, I have a beautiful head of butter lettuce that I keep going to eat. See, and then I asked myself, well, what about my viewers who perhaps don't have a big, beautiful garden window type thing? And I'm going, I wonder whether lettuce will grow in a wine glass. And, I might kill it off, but wouldn't it be nice if you could just have a wine glass in your kitchen that had fresh lettuce in it? And so to me, I guess one of the qualities that I have is my curiosity, right? I am a curious person. I keep asking, I wonder if that will work. And I keep saying, well, why don't you try it? Okay. And I am certain that there are people in the world going, why would you even bother? Oh, Jeannie, you're on World Water, right? One of the things I'm going to be talking about tonight is what I did with my dishwasher, because I didn't matter what I did trying to make dishwasher soap, I could not get that hard water stain thing. So I just want to let you know I found the answer. Yay! I'm so happy. So we're going to do a little bit of that tonight, where I'm going to show you how I mix it up and what I do and what not to worry about. And by the way, we're not going to measure it carefully because it's going to happen. Yes, Nyasha's saying it takes time, Sal. You'll get there. You see, that is the whole thing, Nyasha. I'll keep going until it works. Jody knows that. I might find that this doesn't work, but then I will try it. But what happens if I fill the glass up half full with earth? Will it work? Or there's part of me that wants to leave it just like this as a little terrarium. Can you see that it's self-watering in there? Right? And I'm going, it would just look so pretty as a little terrarium of lettuce, wouldn't it? I would get great joy out of it. Nice talking point if I ever get to have people around again. And by the way, thank you, Jody. If Jody hadn't, when Jody first said, I was saying to her, what am I going to do without cheese? And Jody said, why don't you get powdered cheese? And I'm going, really? Artificial crap? I must admit, that's what I said. And then I did some research, and guess what? It's made from real cheese. Jeannie's saying that her green pepper seeds are doing nothing so far. Takes a very long time. I want to tell you as well, Jeannie, from my experience, the most difficult thing to grow is lettuce. I know why they charge $5 a lettuce. I want to tell you, that's, radishes grow like weeds. If you want to have fun growing something, grow radishes. They pop up immediately, and mine are sort of like this big already, but I want to tell you, lettuce, that's sent to really mess with your brain. So, Jeannie, don't quit. All right? You did it from the seed pod? You did it from this, Jeannie? I've got 2 of mine that are now sprouted, but it took a couple of months. But you see it as a learning process, not a pass and fail. Yeah, so keep doing it until one works. I've got red and yellow that I'm playing with at the moment. Don't quit. You see, if I told you that the fact that you can do it, because you will find how to do it, the fact that you can do it could save your life. I don't know about you, but I could eat a red pepper salad quite happily, if I needed to, with no lettuce and just the peppers alone would be very good nutrients for me. And that's how I look at it, Jeannie. Right? If I can get one growing, I'll be happy. If I can get 2 growing. By the way, Betty the Bean, right, is this one. I'm now trying to work out, I'm going to have to put something pretty substantial. I'm not sure how big he's going to grow high. But obviously this pathetic little construction of mine with bamboo canes is not going to help. It's not going to be strong enough to hold it. I want to take my second one and I want to keep cutting it and see if it grows bushier this way earlier. All right, so Jeannie's saying that you helped me greatly with Google Meet. Well, here's the thing, you see, and now your grandsons and family, we've heard, we did some research on it, Jeannie, just so you know, and it's going to be free until September. After September, it'll be $6 a month. I think that's what Jamie told me. And so we're still looking for something that isn't going to cost that. This is a bean. I was going to say a baked bean. It's not a baked bean. It's a bean plant. Benny the bean. And I've got about 6 of them now. So you understand, some of them will fail, some of them will grow, some of them will give me beans, and I will have a freezer to put the beans in. Hey. And how many of you are glad that you saw this? All right? Right? Which is, if your honey crystallizes, turn it upside down. And I actually have mine, in my sunny window. And the heat from the sun just does a great job, just quietly. Don't need to do anything else. But, that's just flowing beautifully. And I put it in my bread when I bake bread. So, big hugs to you all. I hope that this will help you help others. That's why I did this. That really, we are going to be the rock for our friends. So if any of your friends do get laid off or whatever, be that person, right? When they raise their hand with the word help on it, which is what the thumbnail was, go, I can help. Don't wait until you are properly trained to help them. I've always said to people, if I had waited to have the knowledge that I wanted to be able to help people, I probably would not be doing what I do today. You see, I have always tried to help people. It's what I do. It's my passion. I have always been somebody that likes to play with mud pies, right? I did I did pottery for the longest time. You know how dirty you get doing pottery. I need to change clothes about 3 times a day because guess what? I get clean clothes on and then I go out in the garden and I play. And then I need more clean clothes. And then I will go and water the garden and then I will need more clean clothes. I want to tell you, Jeannie's saying, 2 friends think you're crazy, but we're being cautious. I want to tell you something. What I said is just because they say you can go out doesn't mean that you should. And I am going to probably be in lockdown or near enough lockdown for a year, at least. That's what I see. All right. And I hopefully will still be here helping you. All right. I'm hoping that you will still be here learning more so you can help your neighbors and your friends. Because we're going to use this time well. We're going to be prepared and not scared. We're not going to worry about what other people think, Jeannie. Let them think you're crazy. I've got neighbors that think I'm crazy for what I'm doing. And I keep looking at the seedlings that failed and the ones that didn't. And I'm going, I don't care about the ones that didn't. I'm happy with the ones that are growing now. It took me a month to find out how to do that. Yes, Bernice is saying my brother pulled his children out of school and will be homeschooling them for at least 2 years. Absolutely. Jeannie, I have now perfected, I don't mind telling you, I have now perfected the art of making sourdough multigrain bread. So this is sourdough multigrain bread. Now, Jody will go, look at the crumb. Now, you probably wonder what that means, right? I'm not quite sure if that's good crumb or not, but she'll let me know. Oh, it's beautiful crumb. I keep going, I have no idea what she's talking about, but apparently it's important. So, Jody, all right? You love sourdough, and it's good for people with Crohn's. It's also good for people with diabetes. All right, it is far less dangerous in terms of glucose spikes. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to eat sourdough because of the lack of glucose sugar spikes. And then I wanted to make sourdough, and here we go. So it has taken me a long time because I don't measure. And it's like huck some of this and huck some of that. And now I've got the hucking about right now. It's just yummy. I want to tell you, but the new thing is, Jody, I now only make a loaf that is twice this size, right? I make a little loaf. It's like this. It's like this and this again. And then I cut it like this, and I'm allowed to have a slice a day. All right, so Nash saying, I'm wondering how would schools function now when they're opened? I've seen that they have to put COVID-19 protocols in place in terms of being socially distant. How do you mean, how will they function? They will have far less children in the room. They will have the desks 6 feet apart, and the teacher and everybody will wear masks, I would imagine. And that's how they'll do it. And what will happen, I think, Nyasha, I don't know what will happen in your country because you're in Trinidad and Tobago, but I think what they will do is almost rotate schools. You'll probably find out that schools will work on a rotation system. You'll spend, maybe 1 day at school, 1 day home learning. But they have to have the schools open because they need the children in schools so the parents can work. So that's what I said, watch out, because this is going to happen really quickly. And did you all notice that it was really interesting that there was a big delegation of people from the restaurant business that went to go and see President Trump. And the next day, there was a release to say that the COVID-19 did not spread that quickly on surfaces and utensils, right? It's like, yeah, they want the restaurants open, and people are going to die. But people are going to die anyway. Be prepared. It's going to happen. The more people that are out there, and even if you try hard not to get it, your chances of getting it are just going to increase because more people are out there. So do what you have to do to protect yourself, and don't worry about what other people are doing. Jeannie, the whole of your neighborhood can think you're stupid. You do what you want to do to protect yourself. That's your right as a human being. All right? My neighbors, as I said, are already rolling their eyes because I'm growing food. All right? And they're growing plants and I'm growing food. I've got a few plants out front, but I'm growing food at the back. And as I said, this year, I am growing food for practice. I'm learning how to do it, but I'm also learning how to grow it during the winter. Yes, Sam is saying that. They're talking about doing rotation in schools here. Yeah. And Jeannie's saying, thanks, Sal. We want to live through this. I want you to live through it too, Jeannie. You know that. That's why I'm doing these broadcasts. Why are people judging you for growing food? Because they think it's mad when you can go to the store and go buy it. That's why, Rinsky, because they're not seeing past today. You understand? They're not seeing what's coming. They're just seeing it's still in the stores now. And by the way, how many of you noticed the price of food has already started to go up big time? I want to find out how to grow. That's, I'm doing my baby experiment, but I'm doing this experiment so I can grow food in the winter. Imagine that. Imagine that one shoebox full of lettuce leaves, or maybe it's two, can keep me in lettuce all winter. And yes, Jeannie, you are so right. My tomatoes are always better than the store-bought ones. How about your strawberries? Don't they taste wonderful? And yes, Bernice is saying, well, I like it because it's free money. But it's better because you grow it and it tastes better and you know what's in there. Absolutely. And yes, Jody, they will be the first knocking on your door when things go sideways. I disagree in a way, because they won't need to knock on my door. I will be delivering. Because you and I both know I will grow more than I can eat. And as soon as I grow more than I can eat, I will be sharing it. So here is the thing that I want you to do. I want you to remember we are survivors. Okay? Some of you have survived depression. Some of you have survived cancer. Some of you have survived abuse. Some of you, one thing that I do know is that we are survivors. And I want to tell you that I kept saying, what am I going to miss most? Cheese. And then Jody taught me I can buy cheese in a powder. How long do you think that much powdered cheese will last me? Just to sprinkle on top of things. And by the way, you can mix it up and turn it into, and I also now have cheese whiz. All right. But that'll be interesting. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, I ordered mine. Mine won't be delivered until July. Jeannie's saying she's chest freezer. And Jodie's ordered hers, and it won't be available until mid August. All right, so here's the difference. 1 tablespoon of Cheese Whiz. By the way, I bought the biggest jar I could. Is 35 calories. If I reconstitute this, it is 25 calories. So in terms of that, cholesterol in Cheese Whiz is 2% cholesterol. Oh, 5 milligrams. That's 5 milligrams here, so that's equal. Sodium here is 190, and the sodium here is 210. So this one is better for me. The carbs in this one, 4 grams. Carbs in this one, 3 grams. Sugars in this one, 4 grams. Sugars in this one, 3 grams. Interesting. Proteins are the same. Calcium is the same. The difference is in here, there's more vitamin A. Why would that be? Who cares? All right, so, but the difference is this is already made up and this isn't. This is dry powder. So by the time I've reconstituted this into this, you understand I've got quite a bit of cheese. Is that cheese shaker the 500 gram? Okay, I believe it is. Hold on. Why did I take my glasses off? Having a stupid moment, Sandy. Hang on. Yes, that is 500 grams. I can't remember how much I paid for it. I'm sorry. That's talking Canadian, people. But no artificial preservatives, flavors, or colors. I like that. So, and also no artificial flavors or colors. Hang on. But this has preservatives in it. Okay. So make your choice, but do I now have cheese? If I want it, right? If cheese becomes a problem. And so I keep saying, what's the next thing? What's the next thing I'm going to miss most, right? Last week I stocked up on pasta. I know I'm over time here. Last week I stocked up on, the last couple of weeks I've been stocking up on pasta. I probably can, feed myself for a year with the pasta now. And that's what I'm doing now that I got the basics in. Now I'm adding what else would I miss? And by the way, because milk powder is already like gold dust here, I am buying it wherever I can because I do use skim milk for my coffee, and I want it. Even if I have to pay extra for it now, I want it, and I want to have. Plus, now Jodie was telling me that almond milk also makes the foam. I cannot get, you can't make foam with whole milk, and you cannot. It actually, funny enough, 2% works better than than a lot of them. Funny enough, so I'm going to be trying some almond milk, but I think almond milk will become very expensive. All right, so Jeannie's saying, I bought more coffee beans for York after you talked about it. I have probably about 6 cans of coffee, and I'm going to keep buying every time it's on sale now. If I see it on sale, I've got this rule. It doesn't have to be good coffee, all right? This is called coffee. I want coffee. I'm not saying it has to be top of the line coffee. So I'm now waiting. Anytime I see coffee for under $10 for a big can of it, I'm getting it. I believe coffee will be one of those things. You're not going to have the people to pick the coffee beans. You're not going to have people, think about it. The food chain is going to get really seriously affected, I believe. And what's the worst thing? I will have extra coffee. When I pass away, somebody's going to go, wow, look at all that coffee. Yeah, and that's, that's interesting. The Ash is talking about the difference between the powdered cheese and the bottled cheese. All right. Now, how many of you know the next thing I will be doing is I will be experimenting, adding additives to the cheese whiz to see what I can create. And that, Jeannie, it's interesting you're saying your coffee is $9.99 for whole beans, but how much weight? All right. And so now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be watching out for nice coffee beans now on sale. And when good coffee beans are on sale, I will buy, a few packets of good coffee beans as well for when I have guests. But my day-to-day coffee, I just, give me coffee. You can add powdered milk to the cheese whiz to stretch it. Really? You see, that's what we're going to learn, Jody. We're going to do a lot of research. We're going to teach people how not to live without. But, start thinking about it now. That's all that as I said, be prepared, not scared. All right, so I'm off now to go and prepare tonight. I will be showing you how I make my dishwasher tabs, and then I might even show you how I make my bread if you're interested. but not together. Don't mix them, right? Okay. This is DearMamaSal saying, when people put up their hand and say help, you can help them. I want to tell you that the best help you can give people is to keep them positive. Now, I'm doing a lot of what if. That's risk management. It's not negative. It's what if there is no more cheese? Do I have something in the storage to help me? You see, that to me is risk management. I'm not being negative. This is like, I am doing what I can to stock up. Haven't got Bernice. Bernice, as I said, has turned her her apartment into a store, and she's doing a grand job. And that simple thing that she said to me yesterday, I don't want to be hungry. Right? I don't want to be without lettuce, so I'm learning how to grow my own. I don't want to be without cheese, so I'm learning what to do. And we will keep learning if it's of interest to you, because I think that is a skill. This is DearMamaSal saying, look after one another, but be responsible and look after yourself. If you have too much for yourself, then share it or sell it. This is DearMamaSal saying, big hugs. I love you. And we will see you soon. We'll see you tonight where we do some different sorts of learning. And I've decided to put it into smile time because you're going to laugh at me, right? And great to see you from Dublin. Top of the evening to you. And we will see some of you later. Bye-bye for now, people. If I can get all the buttons pressed in the right order, which I struggle with at this time.